Hi, here's May and welcome to this video. This is the fourth part of drawing characters for the MBTI 16 personality types. And in the previous 3 parts I already talked about the analysts, the sentinels, the diplomats, and now it's left to do is talk about the explorer types and the character illustrations I made for them. So if you haven't seen the other parts and you like this one, you can definitely check them out. In each of the parts I just talk about the 4 character illustrations I made for them. Now let's talk about some characteristics that tend to define the explorer types. Overall, they tend to be self-reliant and quick thinking. They can adapt to the moment even if they don't feel very prepared for it. In general, they live in the moment and are very spontaneous, and they value going with the flow highly. Overall, I think that explorers can be kind of seen as opposites to the sentinels because they really value order and systems. And also with the diplomats and analysts, they are also pretty opposite to each other in that the analysts are very logic focused while the diplomats focus on feelings and people. And now let's start talking about the 4 character illustrations. For each of the illustrations, I'll first talk about the character design itself, what I struggled with and what stood out while drawing. Then I'll just talk about the personality type and some characteristics that define them. But of course, these are just tendencies that the type has. It doesn't mean that every person that has this type, if you took the test and you have the type, that you necessarily are this way, but it's very likely. And at last, I'll also give you some examples from different animes and animated shows of characters that have this personality type, because I personally really like finding out the types of characters just so you can already have a little idea of what they are like or what they value. And now let's start with the first type for this video, which is the ESFP. And for this character design, I wasn't that sure about the pose when drawing. I tried out some different things. I definitely wanted the character to be very outgoing and expressive. The character wears a big jacket and I had 2 outfit variations underneath. And I also did the line art of both of them because sometimes I can't decide which version I prefer from the sketch, so I just went on with doing the line art for both of them to see which version I liked more. The ESFP type likes authenticity, exploration, friendships, and sharing emotions or experiences, while they don't like overcomplicating things, rudeness, or overbearing people. They really relate to creativity and they enjoy meeting new people. And I also noted down what these types would likely be like in school or as a friend, just from some Instagram pages that focus on the MBTI personality types, which I found pretty interesting. So in school, the ESFP would likely try to please the teacher for better grades, and they are either a really good or a disastrous student, depending on if they focus on school or not. And study groups with them always end up not studying because the ESFP can be very distracting probably, but of course they most of the time will mean it in a good way. They like to entertain others. And as a friend, the ESFP is probably down for anything and likes to introduce you to new friends. They're very sweet and they aren't that good at sitting still for a long time and focusing on a single task. Now for some characters that have this personality type, I have a lot of them. From Hunter x Hunter, there's Gone Freaks. And from Haikyuu, we have Hinata Shoujo, Nishinoya Yu, Bokuto Kotaro, and Haiba Lev. Then from Kuroko's Basketball, we have Kise Ryota. In Fruits Basket, Ayame Soma and Kagura Soma have this type. And in Horimiya, Remi Ayasaki has it. Then from My Little Monster, Haru Yoshida and Yoshida Chizuru have this type. And in Legend of Korra, Korra has the type and Ty Lee as well. In Avatar the Last Airbender, then in She-Ra there's Catra and Swiftwind. From Idolish 7, Momo has this personality type. And finally in Genshin Impact, Klee, Arataki Ito, Paimon, Xiangling and Bennett have this type. And when I took the 16 personality test, I got an INTJ, so The ESFP is the exact opposite of my type, but somehow I really admire many characters with this type, because I think you can learn a lot from people that are very different because they have a very different outlook on life, and I admire how they are very emotional and can seem to enjoy every moment a lot. You can also comment which type you yourself are if you took the test. But now let's move on to the ISFP, so the more introverted version of the ESFP. When drawing this, I tried some different arm poses and also sketched a few hands, and I always find this is pretty good to just practice a few hands, which is never a bad thing. Then I tried some hair variations as well, and I decided to add this one big strand at the side. When adding parts like this or a ponytail to a hairstyle, I always try to make sure that the amount of detail or how many strands you see stays the same. I think that's really important for making the whole hairstyle look coherent if you have different parts that come together. What the ISFP personality type likes is independence, authenticity, flexibility and creativity, while they don't like close-mindedness, injustice and disregard. Some things I wrote on that the ISFP can maybe relate to is accidental poetry, falling in love and relaxation. And the ISFP in school, what they could be like is that they always focus on their own feelings and have a fragile yet fierce heart. And as a good friend, they will probably send you cute animal memes, and they are a good listener. What the ISFP isn't that good at is being forced to use logic instead of emotions. In general, with all the feeling types, that can always be hard, especially if you took the test and there's this thinking or feeling percentage, and if your feeling percentage is very high, maybe 80-90%, then this will in general probably be hard for you. While if your logic percentage is very high, then you will probably struggle with using your emotions to make decisions. And with all these types, it's always just 4 attributes with either one or the other tendency. So extroverted or introverted, sensing or intuitive, feeling or thinking, and perceiving or judging. You probably know this already if you took the test yourself. Now on to some characters that have this personality type. From Haikyuu, there's Azumane Asahi. Then from Fruits Basket, Hatsuharu Soma has this type. In Horimiya, Hunaka Sawada has this type. In Avatar the Last Airbender, there's Zuko. Then in She-Ra, Glimmer. And in Idolish 7, Yuki has this personality type. Yuichiro Hyayuka from Seraph of the End has this type. And finally, Kazuha and Razor are also ISFPs. And I find it kind of funny that they both have white hair and red eyes. Now for the third type, the ESTP. For this type, like with the ISFP, I tried many hand variations, but I also tried some more arm variations in general. I wasn't really sure about it at first, but I really liked this fist because the ESTP seems like a very motivated type. Then I also included a headband. I think for one of the types I included a hat for the INFJ, but for all the other ones I didn't really include hair accessoires. Maybe I should have done some hair clips or something like that. It would probably have also been nice. But yeah, for the ESTP I went with a headband. What's important to the ESTP is logic, hard work, freedom, honesty and realism. They don't like living in the clouds. They really want to live in the here and now. What they can relate to is acting goofy, being in the right place at the right time, and strategic acting. The really spontaneous aspect of the explorers comes out in the ESTP a lot. Then what the ESTP could be like in school is that they roast the teacher in front of their face, and they stick up for any friend that gets in trouble. You probably feel comfortable around them easily. Even when they don't know what they're doing, they just somehow always can find a good way to act in the current situation. And as a friend, they help you with getting out of your comfort zone. They value loyalty a lot. And because they always want to find new thrills, they struggle with settling down. Some examples for characters that have this type are from Haikyuu, Miya Atsumu, Tendon Satori, and Tanaka Ryunosuke. Then in Kuroko's Basketball, Taiga Kagami has this type. Arisa Uotani from Fruits Basket and Toru Ishikawa from Horimiya has this type. In Ouran High School Host Club, Hikaru Hitachin has this type. And lastly, from Genshin Impact, Child or Tartaglia also has the ESTP personality type. This is all just according to the website personality database. I like to check out this website once in a while if I find a new good show and just want to know what the characters' types are. Now on to the last type for this video and also the last type of the series, since this is the final video, the ISTP. For this type I had some mouth variations and I also included jewelry on this character. I kind of forgot about that with the other characters. Maybe I included some bracelets or necklaces on a few, but I could have really gone more all out and done some more jewelry. But for this one I went with this kind of hand jewelry I saw some pictures of on Pinterest. Yeah, I used Pinterest a lot while coming up with also the outfits for the characters here. But I included this golden jewelry with the explorer types. That was pretty cool that they have this yellow color scheme. So this looks like it could be golden jewelry. Overall, the way I went about doing the colors for the different characters was for the outfits. I just went with a monochrome palette depending on the type. If they were an explorer, it's yellow, then diplomats green, sentinels blue, and analysts purple. I just picked 5 color variations in the beginning for each of these categories and created a palette from them. Then I filled in the different parts of the outfits with those colors. And for the eye colors, I just went with also these different 4 colors for each of the categories. For the hair colors, I used kind of a pattern because I like doing that when I have very many illustrations or just in a series of illustrations. For the 16 personality illustrations, with each of the extroverted type, I basically went with a more saturated, darker version of the hair color of the introverted type. So if the introverted type has like bright pink, then the extroverted type would have a dark pink and so on. For example, here the ISTP has a lighter brown hair color, while the ESTP has this darker hair color. And the shading process I used for the illustrations was that most of the time I included 2 levels of shading, and for the hair I also added some highlights, as you can see. Now let's talk some more about the ISTP type. What they really like is strategies, careful thinking, and freedom of choice. They don't like social norms, immaturity, and black and white thinking. Some things that might seem relatable for this type are memes, weirdness, and trying to understand people. What the ISTP could be like in school is that they sleep there to save energy, and they have some secret admirers for their cool styles, because they might dress up really nicely. As a friend, they show that they care through actions and have a surprising range of interests. Since they are a thinking type, something they can struggle with is understanding and recognizing others and their own emotions. And finally, let's talk about some characters that have this personality type. From Haikyuu, there's Iwaizumi Hajime, while in Kuroko's Basketball, Mura, Sakibara, Atsushi, and Ami Daiki are ISTPs. And in Fruits Basket, Kyo-soma has this type. Then from Avatar the Last Airbender, Toph and Mai, and from Legend of Korra, Mako have this type. In She-Ra, Frosta and Mr. both have this type. And in Idolish 7, Yamato Nikaido, and also Son Hak from Yona of the Dawn, both are ISTPs. In Seraph of the End, Cruel Tempest is an ISTP. And finally, from Genshin Impact, Rosaria and Shenhei have the ISTP character type. And with that, the final character illustrations of the 16 personality types is done. You can comment which of these 4 illustrations you like the most, or if you took the 16 personality type test, which character type you are, or which of the characters I mentioned in this video you really like, maybe even especially because of that type. I hope you enjoyed seeing my drawing process and also hearing some things about the 16 personality types. And if you haven't seen the other 3 videos and you like this one, you can check them out. But I hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting. If you did, you can consider subscribing and giving this video a like. It would make my day, and thank you a lot for watching. Have a great day and goodbye.